Good afternoon, everyone. Good afternoon, Professor Dulay. This is the Group 5 and we're about to deliver our presentation. The title of our report is Strategies and Actions, and by the end of this report, we will be able to know what the companies do in order to maintain and sustain themselves in the industry of local and broad market, and to familiarize ourselves with the terminologies and regulations of these companies to widen our knowledge. Technically, we are the last group to report, but I hope that will not hinder you to invest your interest and engagement with the activities and the informations indicated in these presentations. Without any further ado, let me introduce to you my group mates.
Hi, good afternoon. I am Marjorie Resco, the Assistant Game Master.
Merjoyce Arbaliday, 21, the Game Master.
Cassandra Junelso, 20, Assistant Presentation Director.
What's up, everyone? I am Iris Jinsin Chuan, Assistant Presentation Director.
Alessandra Bensigua, Assistant Presentation Director.
Shan Azanet Rocha, Presentation Director.
Velasco, Treasurer.
Rubinos, Secretary.
Donna Ramos, Assistant Leader.
And my name is Jonathan Villo and I am the leader. And now let's proceed to our presentation, shall we?
Good day, everyone. So today we're going to discuss about the Chapter 5 of Strategic Management entitled Strategies in Action. At the end of this chapter, we should be able to do the following learning objectives. First is to identify and discuss 8 characteristics of objectives and 10 benefits of having clear objectives. Second is to define and give an example of 11 types of strategies. Third is to identify and discuss the 3 types of integration strategies. Fourth is to give specific guidelines when market penetration, market development, and product development are especially effective strategies. Fifth is to explain when diversification is an effective business strategy. Sixth is to list guidelines for when retrenchment, divestiture, and liquidation are especially effective strategies. Seventh is to identify and discuss Porter's 5 genetic strategies. 8 is to compare A. Cooperation among competitors, B. Joint venture and partnering, and C. Merger or acquisition as key means for achieving strategies. 9th is to discuss tactics to facilitate strategies such as A. Being a first mover, B. Outsourcing, and C. Reshoring. And lastly, explain how strategy planning differs in for-profit, not-for-profit, and small firms. Now let us discuss the long-term objectives, the results expected from pursuing certain strategies. Long-term objectives usually include specific improvements in the organization's competitive position, technology leadership, profitability, return on investment, employee relations and productivity, and corporate image. Performance goals of an organization intended to be achieved over a period of 2 to 5 year time frame. For example, increase the total income of your company by 10% over the next 2 years. Without long-term objectives, an organization will drift aimlessly towards some unknown end. Varying performance measures by organizational level. Long-term objectives are needed at the corporate, divisional, and functions level of the organization. This table shows how the organization measures the performance in terms of effectiveness and efficiency of having a long-term objectives. Effective performance measurements help companies identify their strengths and weaknesses as well as the areas of improvement. Based on the table in varying the performance measured in function level, the long-term objectives are less effective, while in the division, it is the same effectiveness with the annual objectives. While on the corporate level, long-term objectives are more effective. So it clearly shows that long-term objectives helps Identify the company's strengths and weaknesses or areas of improvement.
Now let's proceed on the next slide. The desired characteristics of objectives. There are 8 characteristics on the table, which are quantitative, measurable, realistic, understandable, challenging, hierarchical, obtainable, and congruent across departments. These are important on the success of the organization because they give shape, focus, and energy on the business efforts. More importantly, it should be tied on the business strategy, especially onto the vision and mission. Now let us listen to Ms. Alessandra Bien Sigua.
Thank you, Shan. Let us now proceed to the nature of long-term objectives. First, let us define objectives. Objectives can be defined as specific results that an organization seeks to achieve in pursuing its basic mission. On the other hand, what is long-term objectives? Long-term objectives represent the result expected from pursuing certain strategies. Strategies represent the action to be taken to accomplish long-term objectives. The time frame for objectives and strategies should be consistent, usually from 2 to 5 years. There are a total of 8 nature of long-term objectives. These are the following: provide direction, allow synergy, assist in evaluation, establish priorities, reduce uncertainty, minimize conflicts, stimulate exertion, and aid in both the allocation of resources and the design of jobs. These objectives are essential for organizational success because they state direction, aid in evaluation, create synergy, reveal priorities, focus coordination, and provide a basis for effective planning, organizing, motivating, and controlling activities. Next is the financial versus strategic objective. What is financial goals? Financial goals touch on everything money-related that a company wants to achieve within a given period. It can be 1 month, or a quarter, or a fiscal year. Financial objectives include growth in revenues, growth in earnings, higher dividends, larger profit margins, greater return on investment, higher earnings per share, a rising stock price, improved cash flow, and so on. On the other hand, strategic objective is what company executives do to competitive tedium, understand the tactical moves that rivals are making, deal with the hybrid problems of customer loyalty and brand positioning, hire competent professionals, and nurture the company's mid-level brass. Strategic objectives include a larger market share, quicker on-time delivery than rivals, shorter design to market times than rivals, lower cost than rivals, higher product quality than rivals, wider geographic coverage than rivals, achieving technological leadership, consistently getting new or improved products to market ahead of rivals, and so on. Next is the not managing by objectives. Strategists should avoid the following alternative ways to not managing by objectives. First is the managing by extrapolation. This adheres to the principle, if it is not broke, don't fix it. The idea is to keep on doing about the same things in the same ways because things are going well. Second is the managing by crisis. This is based on the belief that the true measure of really good strategies is the ability to solve problems. Third is managing by subjectives. This is built on the idea that there is no general plan for which way to go and what to do. Just do the best you can accomplish what you think should be done. Fourth and last is the managing by hope. This is based on the fact that the future is laden with great uncertainty, and that if we try and do not succeed, then we hope our second or third attempt will. Let us now proceed to a comprehensive strategic management model. As you can see, the model is composed of 11 chapters, which start from the left part, which is develop vision and mission statement. Next is perform external audit, and then of course perform internal audit, and then establish long-term objectives. Next is generate, evaluate, and select strategies. Next is implement strategies management issues. Then implement strategies marketing, finance, accounting, R&D, and IAS issues. Next is measure and evaluate performance. And then chapter 10, which is business ethics or social responsibility or environmental sustainability issues. And finally, Chapter 11, which is global or international issues. For the next part, let us listen to Ms. Cassandra So.
Thank you for that enlightening report, Ms. Alex Sigua. Let us now move on to the types of strategies. What do you mean by strategy? A strategy is a plan or policy designed to achieve a major overall item. Different types of strategies. Combination strategy is a combination of strategies, and these strategies are growth, retention, and stability. No organization can afford to follow all the methods that might help the company. Difficult destination must be taken and goals needs to be set. Most companies follow 2 or more strategies at the same time. However, if taken too far, a hybrid approach may be dangerous. Alternative strategies defined and exemplified. Forward integration, gaining ownership or increased control over distributors and retailers. Example, Amazon Rapid Delivery in some US cities. Backward integration, seeking ownership or increased control of a firm supplier. Example, if Apple starts to assemble those iPhones in California, and if Apple starts also the job Next is horizontal integration. It is a process of a company increasing productions of goods and services that have the same part of chain. Example, BB&T Susquehanna Bankers. Market penetration is a successful selling of products or services in that have the same part of chain. Example, Under Armour signed tennis champion Andy Murray to a 4-year, $23 million marketing deal. Marketing development. It is when a company tries to sell an existing product to a new customer. Example, Gap opened its first 5 stores in China. Product development refers to strategies and measures used to sell new products or existing products in order to build new businesses. Example, Amazon just began offering its own line of baby diapers and wipes. Related diversification provides the potential to attain synergies by the exchange or sharing skills or resources. Example, Facebook acquired the text messaging firm WhatsApp for $19 billion. Unrelated diversification. This happens when business adds new product line and penetrates new market. Example, Kroger and Whole Foods Market are cooking meals becoming restaurants. Another alternative strategy is retrenchment. If it's a tactic at the corporate level that seeks to decrease the size or diversity of organizational activities. Example, Staples closed 250 stores and reduced by 50% the size of other stores. Divestiture is a business strategy wherein a company's division or unit is separated and made into an independent company. Example, Sears Holding divested its land and division to Sears shareholders. And lastly, liquidation depends on what assets and what things need to be done during liquidation. Example, the Trump Taj Mahal in Atlantic City, New Jersey faces liquidation. The next topic is level of strategy with people most responsible. The first level is corporate level. This refers to the purpose of what business are we in. This is where the chief executive officer is placed. The next level is division level. They are the one who control the divisions. The last level is operational level. This is guided by the general business strategy and one structure to optimize the overall productivity of production while minimizing the risk of objectives of the organization. This is where my report ends. Let us now listen to Ms. Irish Jane Sinchon.
Thank you for your very informative report, Cassandra. Hello everyone, so we will discuss the 3 types of integration strategies. So generally, there are 2 main integration strategies, namely vertical and horizontal integration. Under vertical integration is the forward and backward integration. So first is the forward integration, which happens whenever a company or an organization extend their control over the distributors and retailers through gaining ownership over them. For example, the McDonald's company is known to be a successful company with nicely controlled supply chain, right? But they also have Mac Delivery, wherein they are the ones who delivers the food to their customers. Instead of having a third party to deliver for them and being limited for dining and takeout only, they provide their own delivery system for their customers. So to further understand the 3 types of integration strategies, here are the guidelines. So first, a forward integration is effective when the present distributors are expensive and unreliable. Next is there are only few quality distributors that are available. Next is that the organization is expected to grow significantly. Of course, if you know that your company or your organization has a chance to flourish in the future, you can think for a way to expand it. Next is that the organization has enough capital and human resource. Of course, if you don't have the means to expand or to provide a distributor or to be your own distributor, you have no means to do it. Next is that there are benefits of stable production and distribution. Lastly is that distributors have high profit margin. This is where you have effective control over the product or service that you are offering, in which the price is high than its cost. Proceeding to our new guideline, which is the backward integration guidelines. Backward integration is effective when the present distributors are expensive and unreliable. As you can see, there are the things that is in this slide is the same as the previous one, which is from the forward integration guidelines. It is because they have the same goal of minimizing and advancing the control for their supplies and distributors. Example for this is the Ford Motor Company, which created subsidiaries that provided key inputs to vehicles such as rubber, glass, and metal. This approach ensured that Ford would not be hurt by suppliers pulling out for higher prices or providing materials of inferior quality. Because one of the guidelines of the backward integration is organization has, or the price of inputs of the organization is unstable, and that the organization needs to quickly acquire a needed resource. Lastly is the horizontal integration guidelines. So, horizontal integration is effective when the organization can gain monopolistic characteristics without having a problem from federal government. Just like what I said a little while ago, this strategy has increased workload and responsibilities. That's why there are a lot of tasks that is needed to achieve this strategy. Second is that the organization competes in growing industry. Next is it is effective if the increased scale of economies provide major competitive advantage. And competitors lack of managerial expertise. Lastly is that the organization has enough capital and human talent or has the capacity of managing a huge and extended company. This strategy is good because the organization will have a bigger scope and scale of economies, increased market power, and cost reduction. And that concludes my report about the different integration strategies. Let us now proceed to intensive strategies, which will be reported by Edona. Edona?
Thank you for that wonderful introduction, Ms. Sinchon. So, good afternoon, everyone. I'm Edona Ramos, the Assistant Leader of Group 5. We will now be discussing the intensive strategies. The aim of intensive strategies is to broaden the market share and to increase the profit by making the existing products more effective. These three strategies are called intensive strategies because they require intensive efforts if a firm's competitive position with existing product is to improve. Let's now proceed to the first strategy, which is the market penetration strategy. Market penetration strategy seeks to increase market share for present products or services in present markets through greater marketing efforts. The purpose of market penetration strategy is to effectively use your product to enter the market as quick as possible and seize a large market share. For example, lowering the price of products, discounts, and aggressive advertising. For number 2, we have market development. Market development involves introducing present products or services into new geographic areas. In this strategy, the business attempts to find new groups of buyers as potential customers for existing products and services. The goal of this strategy is to expand into untapped markets. For example, leading companies that entered international markets to expand their brands across new global markets. And the last strategy is product development strategy. It seeks to increase sales by improving or modifying present products or services. The purpose of this strategy is to gain competitive advantage by placing product offerings in the best possible position to drive business goals such as sales growth, revenue, or profits. For example, the electronic company continuously innovates their products by adding new features that can attract more consumers. Next, we have the guidelines for market penetration strategy. The first one is when current market are not saturated with a particular products or service. Second, when the usage rate of present customer could be increased significantly. Third is when the market shares of major competitors have been declining while total industry sales have been increasing. For number 4, is when the correlation between dollar sales and dollar marketing expenditures historically has been high. And lastly, we have when increased economies of scale provide major competitive advantages. Next slide, we have the guidelines for market development strategy. First, we have when new channels of distribution are available that are reliable, inexpensive, and of good quality. Second is when an organization is very successful at what it does. Third is when new untapped or unsaturated markets exist. Number 4 is when an organization has the needed capital and human resources to manage the expanded operations. Number 5 is when an organization has excess production capacity. And lastly, we have when an organization's basic industry is rapidly becoming global in scope. Next slide, we have the guidelines for product development strategy. First, we have when an organization has successful products that are in the maturity stage of the product life cycle. Second is when an organization competes in an industry characterized by rapid technological developments. Third is when major competitors offer better quality products at comparable prices. Number 4, when an organization competes in a high-growth industry. And lastly, we have when an organization has strong research and development capabilities. The overall purpose of these guidelines is to help the company on how they can properly apply the 3 strategies for it to be efficient and effective. For the next part, let's listen to Mr. Robino.
So thank you for that wonderful presentation, Ms. Ramos. So now let's proceed to diversification strategies. So diversification strategies is divided into 2. So first, it's related diversification, and second is unrelated diversification. So first, let us define related diversification. So related diversification is a value chain possess competitive, valuable cross-business strategic fits. So in simple words, it is one in which 2 involved businesses have meaningful commonalities, which provide the potential to generate economies of scale or synergies based upon an exchange or skill resources. So now let's proceed to unrelated diversification. So unrelated diversification is a value chain that are so dissimilar that no competitive valuable cross-business relationship exists. So basically, it is a lack of commonality in markets, distribution channels, production technology, and research and development thrust to provide opportunity for synergy through the exchange or sharing of assets or skills. So now let's move on to synergies of related diversification. So first is transferring competitively valuable expertise, technological know-how, or other capabilities from one business to another. Second is combining the related activities of separate businesses into a single operation to achieve lower costs. Third is exploiting common use of a known brand name. And lastly, using cross-business collaboration to create strengths. So in conclusion, when the resources for manufacturing and marketing are highly compatible with the existing resources of the firm, the synergy sports from commonalities in the production process like R&D or research and development facilities, Salesforce competence, and distribution networks. So now let's proceed to related diversification guidelines, or we should say, when do a company or businesses adopt in the related diversification? So value chain relationships between the core and new businesses provide the synergies. So in other words, we can argue that a company may follow related diversification strategy when strategic fit exists between some or all the value chain activities in both the new and core businesses. So these are some situations when to adopt in related diversification. So first situation is when the core competencies of the company apply to a variety of business situations. Second is when the management of the company is capable enough to manage the affairs of several businesses simultaneously. Third is if trade unions in the company do not create resistance to the cross-business transfer of manpower and other resources. And lastly, when governmental costs of implementation do not outweigh the benefit derived from resource sharing between businesses. So, governmental costs arise mainly from coordination efforts that are required among different businesses of the company. So earlier, we tackled about related diversification guidelines. So now we will be discussing unrelated diversification guidelines, or when do a company adopt in unrelated diversification. So this strategy may also work well in certain specific situations. The strategy makers need to assess these situations and then they should decide on adopting unrelated diversification. So these are some situations when to adapt in unrelated diversification. So first is if the core functional skills of the company cannot be easily used in a business other than the original business. Second is when the management of the company can establish backward or forward linkage. Third is if a company sees that entering into another type of business in a different industry offers a good profit opportunity. And lastly, when the prospective business in a different industry is not related to the core business that has significant profit potential. So that's it, everyone. I'm Harry Rubinos, and thank you for listening. So the next report will be presented by Ms. Baliday.
Thank you, Mr. Rubinos. For a continuation of the topic unrelated diversification guideline, when an organization has the capital and the managerial talent needed to compete successfully in the new industry. This is when your company has power or the capital that is needed to support your business. Second, when an organization has the opportunity to purchase an unrelated business that is an attractive investment opportunity. For example, if you have a clothing line business and you add an unrelated product, for example, a makeup, because you know that it is relevant nowadays with your business product. Then next one, when there is an existing financial synergy. Financial synergy means when you are joining companies to improve your financial activity. For the next one, when existing markets for an organization's present products are saturated. Product saturation means when it reaches the peak in sales, volume, and it can no longer grow and will start to decrease in sales. Last, when antitrust actions could be charged against an organization that historically has concentrated on a single industry. For the next slide, defensive strategies. First one, retrenchment. It occurs when an organization regroups through cost and assets reduction to reverse declining sales and profits. Or it is also called a turnaround or reorganizational strategy because when the decision of the organization that was made is wrong, it needs to undone before it damages the profit of your company. Last, designed to fortify or strengthen an organization's basic distinctive competence. For the next, retrenchment guidelines. When an organization has a distinctive competence but fails to consistently meet its goals. Next, when an organization is one of the weaker competitors in a given industry. Third one, when an organization is plagued by inefficiency, low profitability, and poor employee morale. Fourth one, when an organization fails to capitalize on external opportunities and minimize external threats. Fifth, when an organization has grown so large so quickly and that major internal reorganization is needed. Back in the defensive strategies. Second one, the divestiture. It is selling a division or part of an organization, often used to raise capital for further strategic acquisitions or investments. The Divestiture Guidelines will be discussed by Ms. Velasco in the next speaker. For the third one, liquidation, selling all of the company's assets in parts for their tangible worth. So, the next speaker is Ms. Velasco.
Thank you for that, Ms. Baliday. So now I will proceed to the Divestiture Guidelines. Number 1. When an organization has pursued a retrenchment strategy and failed to accomplish needed improvements. Number 2. When a division needs more resources to be competitive than the company can provide. Number 3. When a division is responsible for an organization's overall performance. Number 4. When a division is in split with the rest of an organization. This can result from radically different markets, customers, managers, employees, value, or needs. Number 5. When a large amount of cash is needed quickly and cannot be obtained reasonable for other sources. Number 6. When government antitrust action threatens an organization. So, divestiture or divestment means pulling out of market. This strategy is followed when activity still continues, although at a reduced scale. A company can maximize its net investments recovery from a business by selling it early before the industry enters into a steep decline. Divestment could be selling off a part of a firm's operation or pulling out of a certain product market areas. Next is defensive strategies. Liquidation involves selling of the entire operation, selling all of a company's assets in parts of their tangible worth is called liquidation. In liquidation, the owner's interests are better than in an inevitable bankruptcy. So, a business may go into decline when losses are made over several years. The losses are set off against past profits retained in the business reserves. But, clearly, the situation cannot continue for very long. In such case, liquidation may be imminent. Continue to FR David suggested 3 guidelines for when liquidation may be an effective strategy to pursue. Number 1. When an organization has pursued both a retrenchment strategy and a divestiture strategy and neither has been successful. Number 2. When an organization's only alternative is bankruptcy. Liquidation represents an orderly and planned means of obtaining the greatest possible cash for an organization's assets. A company can legally declare bankruptcy first and then liquidate various divisions to raise needed capital. Number 3, when the stockholders of a firm can minimize their losses by selling the organization's assets. That's all. For the next part, let's listen to Mr. Jonathan Bailey.
Thank you for your informative report, Ms. Velasco. Now, let's move to Porter's 5 generic strategies. The companies can utilize this to create a considerable competitive advantage. But first, let us define what competitive advantage is. A competitive advantage is when a company obtains greater profits than the average competitor in the strategic or product market. This results to excellence and longevity of the company in the industry, as well as to develop more advantages in the long run or in the bigger picture. Now, let's look at these following generic strategies. Let it be known that the company could either be the cost leader or the differentiator, and the results are this table that you can see in your screens, and that explains everything. These are the first 2 types of generic strategies under cost leadership. Let me read it to you first. Cost leadership emphasizes producing standardized products at a very low per unit cost for consumers who are price sensitive. The first type is the low-cost strategy that offers products or services to a wide range of customers at the lowest price available on the market. The second on the list is the best value strategy that offers products or services to a wide range of customers at the best price value available on the market. Basically, cost leadership is all about being a low-cost provider for a broad customer base. Example of these companies that do are Dell Computer, Amazon, or the Walmart in the USA. These companies offer the same products on the same product market, but with lower cost, and that is a competitive advantage already. These allow them to capture greater profits than their competitors. The third type is the differentiation. Let me read it to you first again. Differentiation is the strategy aimed to producing products and services considered unique, industry-wide, and directed at consumers who are really price sensitive. So basically, differentiation is all about doing something different. Basically, that makes your broad market customers pay for your products and services. An example of this is the Apple products or the Apple company. Who doesn't want to have an iPhone? Everyone loves to have an Apple product, whether it be a laptop or an iPhone. And no matter how expensive it could get, people will still try to buy it in the market because of its different feature amongst other devices in the market. These higher prices allow the companies to constantly capture higher profits in their competitors. The fourth type is the low-cost focus strategy that offers products or services to a niche group of customers at the lowest price available in the market. The fifth type, and definitely not the least, is the best value focus strategy, which offers products or services to a small range of customers at the best price value available in the market. Basically, cost focus is basically a cost leadership strategy in narrow or focused market. Example of this that we can consider is the Cherry Mobile phone company that offers products to price-sensitive Filipino customers, since this is a local phone brand. But it only carries products with huge discounts. We can all see Cherry Mobiles being offered to cyber zones for a very huge discounts for customers who look after their budget or expense capabilities. The strategy of this is to get broad customers to go somewhere else that Cherry Mobile doesn't offer because it only focuses on specific market. This has been Jonathan, and thank you for investing time with my part. The next reporter is Ms. Resco. Let's all listen to her.
Thank you so much, Mr. Jonathan Billo, for that wonderful presentation. Okay, so for the last part, we have the means for achieving strategies, and these are the collaboration among competitors, joint venture, merger, private equity, First mover advantages and outsourcing. For collaboration among competitors to succeed, both firms must contribute something distinctive such as technology distribution, basic research, or manufacturing capacity. Joint venture is a popular strategy that occurs when two or more companies form partnership or consortium for the purpose of capitalizing on some opportunity. A merger occurs when two organizations of about equal size units to form one enterprise. Private equity firms are acquiring and taking private a wide variety of companies almost daily in the business world. First mover advantages refer to the benefits a firm may achieve by entering a new market or developing a new product or service prior to the rival firms. And last is outsourcing. Outsourcing involves companies hiring other companies to take over various parts of their functional operations such as human resources, information system, payroll, accounting, customer service, and even marketing. Next is the key reasons why many mergers and acquisitions fail. First is the integration difficulties, inadequate evaluation of target, large or extraordinary debt, inability to achieve synergy, too much diversification, managers overly focus on acquisitions, too large an acquisition, difficult to integrate different organizational cultures, and last is reduced employee morale due to layoffs and relocations. Business, expansive or little, covetous of potential benefits from merger and procurement bargains, cannot get a 100% ensure on the deal's victory. The lion's share of the merger and acquisition bargains result in disappointment due to the over variables. Commerce proprietors, advisors, and related members ought to be careful the conceivable pitfalls. Next is the potential benefits of merging with or acquiring another firm. First is to provide improved capacity utilization, make better use of the existing sales force, reduce managerial staff, gain economies of scale, smooth out seasonal trends in sale, gain access to new suppliers, distributors, customers, products, and creditors, gain new technology, gain market share, enter global markets, gain pricing power, and to reduce tax obligations. As this list appears, there are various benefits to great acquisitions, and what's more, the superior develop the bargain, the more these benefits are likely to emerge. Anyone looking to put a merger and acquisition methodology into hone ought to consider which of these benefits they are most searching for from the securing when considering around their thought process for buying. Last is the benefits of a firm being the first mover. First, secure access and commitments to rare resources. Gain new knowledge of critical success factors and issues. Third, gain market share and position in the best locations. Fourth, establish and secure long-term relationships with customers, suppliers, distributors, and investors. Fifth, gain customer loyalty and commitments. First mover advantages are analogous to taking the high ground first, which puts one in an excellent strategic position to launch aggressive campaigns and to defend territory.
Hi, Section 12. Did you learn something about our report today? Let's have a look at them once again. In this report, we have learned about pursuing strategies, organizational levels, strategic objectives, comprehensive strategic management model, types and alternative strategies, multiple classifications of guidelines, Porter's 5 generic strategies, reasons of failing, and firm's potential benefits. Again, this has been Group 5, and may you have a good and wonderful semester. Happy learning! Before we end this presentation, I would just like to reiterate what Mr. Sofronio Dulay has said in one of our classes, that a strategy without an implementation is just drawing, okay? So that would be the bottom line of this report, and thank you for listening. And that ends our report. This has been Group 5, and we do hope that you have learned something in this presentation. We will now return the spotlight to Mr. Sofronio Dulay for his presentation and his suggestions about our report.